Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I would like to analyze a little interview between Piers Morgan and Vivek Ramaswamy. An interview which is very revealing to some that are unaware how these weasels, you can guess who it is in this video, try to frame the discussion in a pathos, from a pathos perspective, not from a logos, all right? Heart, feelings, not actions, laws, order, and discipline. And we're gonna have here about maybe 5 minutes at the most, a video where you're gonna have Piers Morgan trying to catch Ramaswamy with idiotic angles. But hey, Ramaswamy does a fantastic job. First, they're going to talk about freedom of speech, which Ramaswamy gives Piers a lesson and gives us hope, as former President Obama, hope and change. So let's go and watch this interaction between these two guys. And he's going to start starting with pathos. Like, okay, now after that theatrical display of garbage, now let's talk about meaningful things. And in meaningful things, this weasel right here is losing. Why? Because he is no arguments of that kind. So let's see.
Candidates for President Ron DeSantis has said that the students who've been protesting across American campuses, very pro-Palestinian, a lot of Jewish students feeling very threatened by it. Some of these students actually beaming pro-Hamas imagery to the buildings at George Washington University and so on.
This is arguing from the pathos. He creates the image of all this. Some people are hurt because of some people do that.
They should be taken out. If they have visas, they should be revoked and so on. You've said you don't believe in that because of free speech. But again, is there no limit to that free speech? If people are actively supporting and promoting a terror organization like Hamas, isn't that hate speech, not free speech?
As far as I know, hate speech per se, which they think they try to push hate speech, something that you say that someone doesn't like and feels, oh, that's hatred against me. By talking, they try to make laws. They are, if you commit a crime, and in the process of committing a crime, a felony, let's say, you say something that could be attached to that. Oh, maybe this crime was motivated by this kind of dislike for this kind of group, and so on. But he tries to, these guys are not for freedom, especially freedom of speech. Let's see.
Well, to be clear, I am an ardent defender of the First Amendment.
So, and I agree with you.
So the First Amendment does not protect against actual incitement to violence, to say, hey, go kill that guy right there, do it now, shoot him. That's not protected
What about
speech.
saying Hamas is great?
So in the U.S., the jurisprudence on this, I mean, the U.S. is very clear. Anything that is an expression of an opinion is protected. So if you're expressing an opinion, however...
Opinion. See how YouTube works with that, if I express my opinion, how protected it is.
That opinion is protected by the First Amendment. All opinions are protected. Now, my view is some of those are heinous opinions. We're the country, the United States of America, who said the Nazis could march in Skokie, Illinois. Many people around the world would disagree with that, but that's what makes America itself. I disagree vehemently with those Nazis, but I will defend to the death in this country, the right of anybody to express their opinion.
You'll defend to the death the right of people to be Nazis in America.
The right of people to express...
See how he wants to frame it? So you defend the people being Nazi? No, I defend their right to say it or to... No, you want to... But this guy is not...
Being a Nazi can involve more than that, right? If you're taking action based on that, no. Heck no. But if you want to...
But if you're promoting and supporting a Nazi ideology, why would you want to accept that in America?
I don't want to accept that. The way we defeat it...
Why would you tolerate it?
I don't tolerate it. We don't tolerate it through more speech. You defeat it in the marketplace of ideas, and we're not tolerating it. Because think about what you're doing to somebody who has that nasty opinion and then tell them that they have to keep it to themselves. You tell people they can't speak, they scream.
But would you allow
If
people
you tell
to...
people they can't scream, that's when they take physical action.
but
So I
also-
don't want to see that.
But would you be happy to see pro-Nazi
No, I'm not
marches?
happy.
He's talking about, are you happy about? It's not about being happy about it. Because if we go by happy or not happy, I'm not happy with Piers Morgan. That means what? Don't watch it, buddy. That should be the answer. But are you happy with it? Are you promoting that? You'd like that? No, I don't like. But I'm watching it because I'm learning. And I see who this guy is right here. The other guy, I already know what he is.
Of course I'm not
If you're
happy
president of the
about
United States, you would allow it to happen. Nazi marches.
It's not about him allowing. It's the Constitution, you weasel. It's not him. He's not a king. But that's the way this guy frames it. Would you allow it? So what do you want him to do? Write an executive order? You can't say that because it's hateful? Yeah, that's exactly how this guy wants to run it. But what if someone says, we don't like what Piers Morgan says, ban him? Would you be okay with that? No, he was coming.
I'll tell you something deeper, Piers. This is how it works in the United States. It's not even my power to decide whether to allow it to happen. The Constitution and the Supreme Court has already long held that the expression of heinous opinions is part of the American constitutional life. To say that the government, no government actor, should ever decide which opinions can and cannot be expressed.
Let me read you a quote from Nikki Haley.
All right, he's out. He lost. He changes now to something else. Nice try, buddy. Very low, but anyway. Now listen to what Vivek said. You might not like his hair, or might not like his speech, or might not like what he says, but take that as a defense if you didn't have one against this kind of little wolves in sheep clothing or whatever, hives, whatever they are. And now he's changing to Nikki Haley.
The rivals to be president. She says, you want to go and defund Israel, you want to give Taiwan to China, you want to go and give Ukraine to Russia. Under your watch, you will make America less safe. Now, we've discussed Israel. You've clarified your position on Taiwan, and I think it's significant that you now said you would send in American troops to defend Taiwan should China try and attack it.
I said we would militarily defend.
I said we will military defend. I know you're going to send troops. Military defend. Bigger than, but anyway, let's see how Pierce is going to weasel around.
Troops in.
Military, it depends on whether ground troops are actually what matter or not. You could talk about destroyers, you could talk about SSGNs.
But you would send American military in to defend the Taiwanese.
We would militarily defend Taiwan, yes, at least until we've achieved semiconductor independence.
I mean, that wasn't
and
what
I'm
you,
the only candidate who said it.
But this brings me neatly to Ukraine.
Yes.
Which was invaded and attacked. So
he's going to kick these guys' butt with Ukraine because he's going to say, you're inconsistent. Where were you? So this guy attacks Vivek right there, but Vivek will smack this guy. Just listen to how smart Vivek is here.
A sovereign democratic country. It was attacked.
Democratic with an asterisk.
No, democratic.
With an asterisk.
Well, it had a massive majority voted for democracy.
Well, much of the regions that are occupied haven't been represented in Ukraine's parliament for 9 years.
Right.
So, table stakes discussion there.
But it is, okay, you can call it asterisk democracy, I'll say democracy. But it was attacked and invaded by Russia. And you originally, when you first tweeted about it, you were quite censorious about what Russia had done and pro-Ukraine. Your rhetoric changed.
I was pro-Ukraine, but I found it offensive. I mean, I've said this at every step. Putin is a craven dictator. Okay, Putin.
He has to say that, even if he believes or not, has to say that so we can come down on him. So okay, I give you this. We are on the same page here, but let's judge, analyze this, fairly, honestly. So he gives him that, let him win a little bit, even if he believes in that. But let's say he doesn't believe in that, because you're not going to go and talk to Putin, hey, you're a dictator. He was elected, like this guy right here. What are you talking about, dictator? But anyway, they still have the Duma, they still have all the things around. He's not doing whatever he wants, but they frame it that way. All right, let's move on.
Absolutely craven dictator.
Is he a war criminal?
I don't know. I don't have enough information to suggest he's a war criminal. The ICJ makes that judgment. Again, the U.S.
He pushed it further. He's not only dictator, he's also a war criminal. I said, I don't know. I don't have the evidence. I'm not in charge. I'm not the one who determines that. International Criminal Court actually not the one of The Hague, will determine that. He's like, what? Yeah, because this guy, Vivek, takes each and every weasel word coming from this weasel and says, no, wait, don't frame it the way you want. I gave you the one with dictator, let's be okay with that, but don't push something because I look like you.
The U.S. president.
You don't think?
I don't know. I don't have enough information to suggest.
You don't know?
Criminal. The ICJ makes that judgment. Again, the U.S. president.
You don't think what he's done in Ukraine constitutes a war crime?
Based on what we've seen, a lot of it looks likely to meet the ICJ's test, but I don't think the U.S. president.
It meets any
ICJ.
test.
Well, I think that a lot of people have committed war crimes then on that basis, right? So you can't just selectively single him out.
Well, illegally invading a sovereign country
Here's my view.
is a crime, isn't it?
For us to get on the same page, is Putin an evil dictator? Yes, he is. Just because Putin is bad, does that mean Ukraine is good? No, it does not. Okay, this.
Did you hear that? Just because that guy is bad, it doesn't make the other ones good. Could be two bad people at it. He has no argument, this weasel here.
Country that has banned 11 opposition parties. This is a country that has consolidated all of its media into one
Talks about
state
Ukraine.
TV media arm. This is a country that celebrated a Nazi in its own ranks in front of the Canadian Parliament, Zelensky did. This is a country that's effectively threatening the U.S. not to hold its elections unless the U.S. forks over more money. And also against the backdrop, Piers, it's worth wondering why that initial incursion to Kyiv went nowhere, but Luhansk and Donetsk were easily captured without counter-resistance. Why? These are Russian-speaking regions. Many residents there don't even view themselves as part of Ukraine. They view themselves as part of Russia.
My friends, if you have truth on your side, the weasels will always lose. They might be louder than you, be more numerous than you, but you will not be afraid to speak the truth because the truth is there. That's why there are certain books that are around, actually one, with an old and a new, that they are undefensible. The same. The truth is in them. So when you quote them, it's a euphemistic, is not, that's not what I mean. No, that's what it's over there. But let's get back to these guys.
For the better part of the last decade, almost 10 years, they haven't even been represented in the Ukrainian parliament.
Well, there are large
so we have to measure that against the fact.
You would give Putin what he's taken, right?
I wouldn't give him anything. There's a deal.
What would you give him?
I wouldn't give
What
him anything.
would you
I'll
give
a
him?
deal.
What's the deal he's going to take?
What would you give him? It's not my power to give him anything. Again, you see how these guys, you can see his frame of mind of this weasel right here. What would you give him? Would you ban the free speech for hate speech? Would you? He has a tyrant mentality. He's not allowed to do that, but they're pushing the boundaries on and on, over and over. What would you give him? And this guy's going to say, well, I'm not going to give him. I'm going to offer him a deal as United States, and it's between you and Ukraine.
Well, here's the deal. He has to exit his military alliance with Xi Jinping. End the Russia-China military alliance. That's the top threat that the U.S.
What's the
faces.
deal with Ukraine
And
territory?
then in return, what we get is a hard commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO. In truth, that's just keeping.
But what about the land he's taking?
Well, this is the most important part. Is the NATO hard? This is what matters most to Putin.
That's not our land. It's those guys' land. Let's start with that one.
There's other parts of this deal I can talk about on both sides. The most important element of each, and then I can go to the second most. The most important element is Russia exit its military alliance with China. We make a hard commitment that NATO not admit Ukraine to NATO, which, by the way, Piers
focuses on the land. This guy works on the global issue. More important is Russia-China alliance than Donetsk, Luhansk. For us, for the Ukrainians, might be important, but for us and for the world, it's not losing those to the dictator Putin. That's the case he makes. The other one is like, yeah, but what are you going to do with that? I'm United States of America. I don't give a damn about that. But anyway, or not a something that important.
that violates. We've systematically violated a commitment we made back in 1990. James Baker, the U.S. Secretary of State, made a commitment to
but
Gorbachev.
tell me on this deal.
And then here we'd freeze the current lines of control.
Doesn't like the answer.
Freeze the current
You
lines of
would
control.
give Putin
I
everything
wouldn't
he's
give him
stolen?
anything. I would freeze the current lines of control.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
These are Russian-speaking regions that are occupied today.
You would literally give Putin what he's stolen. You
Only-
would give
I'm
a guy
not-
you
I'm
just...
not giving him anything. I'm
you
giving
just
him a deal.
What did you describe him as to
It's
me again?
conditioned.
What did you call Putin?
He's an evil dictator.
You give an
So is
evil
Xi Jinping.
dictator
So are countless others.
land he's stolen by killing people. You would give him the land.
Pierce, I'm not going to give him anything. I'm giving him a...
Again, killing people, doing this, pathos. I'm not going to give him anything. I'm going to give him a deal.
You've just said you give him the whole...
I'm not going to give him. That's your word, not mine. I'd give him a deal. What I would
You'd hand
do
it to him.
is, no, we would require Russia to exit its military alliance with China. What threatens the United States of America?
What message are you
the
sending?
Russian-China military
Vivek,
alliance.
You're president of the United States, and you say, all right, Vladimir, I know you invaded illegally a sovereign democratic country, and they fought for
It's
their
not a democratic country.
And they fought
Ukraine is not a democratic country.
And they fought for their...
Ukraine is not a democratic country.
I don't agree with you.
I mean,
I don't agree with
look
you.
at what they're doing to the Ukrainian Orthodox
But
Church right now.
Let me finish this conversation.
It's just a myth.
Let
though.
me finish.
But we're having a mythological conversation.
Well, you don't think it is.
Ukraine is not a democratic country.
The people of Ukraine voted for democracy in massive majority
Except for the
numbers.
ones that didn't vote that happened to be in the regions occupied by Russia.
But you would give this area that they've stolen back to the Russians, right? So you're telling...
I would not.
You're telling
it would be
every...
conditioned.
You're telling every...
I would not do
Hang
anything
on.
other than we get what we want.
You're
in
telling
return.
every evil dictator in the world, you can go and invade any country you like, take whatever land you can in a bloody war for as long as
Here's
you like,
what I find
and
fascinating.
then eventually I'll just
Listen
give
to
you...
this.
How many hours of your show, or minutes, or seconds, have you dedicated to what Azerbaijan has done to Armenia and
Zero.
Nagorno-Karabakh on the different region on the other side of Caspian? Zero is probably the answer, just like every other major member of the media. Why? Because Ukraine has been as successful in selling this Pied Piper myth in the United States as Azerbaijan has. Yet what Azerbaijan just did in Nagorno-Karabakh over the same region, dating back to even September of this year, pin drop silence. So if you're going to apply that standard, you would be applying it far more broadly.
But applying your standard as President of the United States seems
my standard...
He's changing the subject. He didn't even bother to address that because he was telling the truth. So your concern with Ukraine is, to say the least, dubious.
Stay out of them all. Because if you're in Ukraine for that reason, the United States would be in 10 other conflicts right now. And so you're selectively applying it, if I may say, Piers, not even to the best example you could make, because Ukraine is not a paragon of democracy.
old-fashioned, but I remember in World War II when the Americans came in to help Britain finish off the
When
Nazis.
Pearl Harbor was hit.
Yes.
I mean, the hard answer is...
better late
When
than
it
never
hit
would be
us.
my response to that.
Well, America
but
should
eventually,
look after its self-interest.
when America was attacked itself, then America did come into the war and did help Britain win it. And
That's correct. When America was hit, that happened.
And thank God they did.
And I'm grateful that America and Europe should be grateful that we did. And now NATO can spend maybe 2% of its GDP on military spending, which it's still failing to do. So much for gratitude. So
on that point, I agree with you, and I agree with Donald Trump.
Yeah, so the US helped Britain win the war. Where were the Soviets again? Because if you ask the Soviets, they say, no, we won for you guys. Well, anyway, the things are more complex. But see how each and every country takes it towards, oh, we won the war. Even the Canadians said that they won the war, Second World War for Europe. Even the Canadians. And I'm not bashing on them, but get the number, and they shouldn't have been involved anyway, but they were. And Australian troops and Indian troops, they were used by the empire that collapsed after that, got bankrupt. So yes, great job, Churchill. So my friends, here is Ramaswamy smacking this weasel at every corner. If you're so concerned with Ukraine, why are you not concerned with Nagorno-Karabakh, with Azerbaijan and Armenia? And if we would apply the same rule, like intervening in Ukraine, we would be involved in about 10 other conflicts. So what are you talking about? You're not selling it very well. And he said, Ukraine is not a democracy. Yes, I think it is. He gave he gave him one after another facts why Ukraine does not qualify as an example of democracy. And the guy still thinks Ukraine is a democracy. That's not true. That's a make-believe. He wants to believe. He lives in denial. How can you argue with these guys? No, Ukraine is a democracy. He gave you facts. What facts did you give? You gave him the fact they voted overwhelmingly. Yes, without the guys that were not voting for this guy, were not included. Yeah, that's true. So is that a democracy? And actually, the ones that are right now in the Russians' dictators' hands. My friends, personally, I never thought that his Piers Morgan is a little bit better than Hannity, and Hannity is bad. Why? I watched him a few times and I said, this guy is mediocre at best. Nevertheless, it's good to have this kind of people like Piers Morgan, because we get the chance to see Vivek and others smacking these kind of guys, promoting a garbage mentality. And I think that's a tyrannical mentality. Try to catch Vivek in each and every corner. Well, he's only 38. He's only 38. And I say only, because think of yourselves. I don't know how great you were, but we all think that we are great, right? When we're great at 20. And when you get 30, you look back and say, woo, at 20 I was such a weasel. And then when you get 40, you look at when you were 30, oh my God. If we evolve, if we don't evolve, and with experience, we're going to look at us being 30, and being 50, I was so good. No, I wasn't. Now I'm better than I was over there. So after a while, you realize that every time you think you're extraordinary, is going to come a time in a few years or maybe sooner when you realize that when you thought you were extraordinary, you were so naive. No, acknowledging your limits and how naive and how much more is to know. It doesn't mean that you have to shut up. No, because otherwise we would all shut up, and we have Piers Morgan, Hannity, and other guys telling us what to think and how the spin is on news and how we are supposed to view the world affairs. No, we shouldn't keep our mouths shut. So he's 38. He's 38, stands in front of this weasel, Piers, and he smacks him at his job of framing people. And that tells you that Ramaswamy is intelligent. That tells you that Ramaswamy is knowledgeable, so has the knowledge. He's fast on the spot. Now, I don't know how many times he practiced that and he thought of it, but even that shows you an organized mind. All right, my friends, here it is. Take this and use it for your little arguments that you might have with idiots surrounding you. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.